Thank you for joining us. You were just listening to internationally known singer-songwriter and good friend Jessie Terry's Kaleidoscope. On behalf of the K-Team, as one of our writers lovingly refers to us, welcome to Kaleidoscope WoJo's virtual book launch and book signing. We're so glad to be here. Kaleidoscope WoJo, Reflections on Women's Journeys, announces the first in a series of anthologies, In My Shoes. Today, we're going to flip through the pages of our story, introduce you to our writers, and tell you what's coming up next for Kaleidoscope WoJo. With so many writers, and for the sake of time, much of today's launch has been recorded. This book is dedicated to our moms, grandmothers, aunts, sisters, daughters, granddaughters, nieces, cousins, and dear friends. While we may not universally share the same beliefs on all manners of subjects, we do share the commonality of recognizing our unique journeys as women. We would like to thank the following individuals for their support, encouragement, and review of the story: Sally Sutton, Dave and Faith Stevens, Jim Beam, Ryan Chester, and the original writers of our prototype Familiar Voices. You can read the bios of our co-founders, Deb, Tom, and Marianne, while you hear a bit more about us. 3 people started off to write a business book, relying on decades of experience in corporate positions and as consultants. Instead, we ended up going down another path. Kaleidoscope WoJo, In My Shoes, is the culmination of 3 years of effort at creating a platform to reach women writers and to collect personal memoirs on a variety of topics. Every life is about overcoming obstacles and challenges that crop up unannounced and unexpected. No one escapes life unscathed. Our responses to these events shape the people we become. We have gathered the best of those stories submitted to us that reflect the challenges that life presents and the power of transcendence. In addition to our book, In My Shoes, we also offer webinars, workshops, and retreats to foster the art of storytelling for individuals, work teams, and organizations. Our lives are reflected in the stories we choose to tell, as well as the stories that teams and organizations tell reflect the culture embedded in them. Come, explore the power of women's voices and be inspired. As mentioned in our foreword, our book, In My Shoes, includes a very diverse group of women writers in background, location, education, and writing styles. Today, you'll get an introduction to the writers, and you'll find more of their details on our website. You'll be able to put a face to the name, get to know them by reading their bios, get a glimpse of their story through their excerpt, and hear what they have to say about participating in this project.
And now Kaleidoscope WoJo, Reflections on Women's Journeys, announces In My Shoes writer Bari Benjamin and her story, Loving Lilia. Bari Benjamin is a former English teacher turned psychotherapist and practices in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She wrote stories as a child, kept journals throughout high school, college, and graduate school, but began writing essays in midlife. And now let's hear an excerpt from Bari's essay, Loving Lilia. When I tucked her into bed, I softly recalled how I found her, step by step. Her adoption story became her bedtime story. Every night she stuck one thumb in her mouth as she leaned over with eyes closed and traced my face with her fingers, my nose, my lips, my cheeks. I imagined she wanted to remember me just in case I, like her biological mother, disappeared. An exquisite memory that both hurts and warms my heart.
And now let's hear from Bari. Bari, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as the team said, I am a former English teacher. I taught English for 10 years. I taught in middle school, very difficult age to teach, actually. And I realized about year 8 that I recognized I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I took a little bit of time and I figured out what I wanted to do. And I went back to graduate school and I obtained a second master's degree then, entered the mental health field and have been there really over 20 years now. And like you said, I have a practice in Pittsburgh, PA. Ever since I was a little girl, I wrote stories. My mother used to say, Bari, you have quite an imagination. I do have a memory. I do have a memory of writing a story for a kids magazine. And I can't even remember the name of the magazine, but I can see this tall cover in my mind's eye. And I remember, I think I sent it, or my mother sent it to the magazine. I have no memory of what happened. I don't know if it was published. I don't know if it got there. I have no idea. But I do remember that. And like you said, I have been writing since junior high. There was no middle school back then, by the way. So junior high, I kept journals, diaries, thick books of writing pages, all through high school, undergraduate college, graduate school. And recently I was looking back on one, and I had written, I guess it was in ninth grade, I think, I had written a line of, I was meant to be a writer. So all those years I wrote, and then I stopped until I made the decision that irrevocably changed my life. And that was getting on a plane as an older single mom, flying to Moscow and bringing my toddler daughter back home. It was also around that time that I was reading a magazine called Adoption Today. And back then it was a print magazine. I think you could even buy it in stores. And there were articles that families and parents had written about adopting their children and also adopting internationally. So I saw that. My daughter was young at the time. And I thought, you know, I'm going to write a story and I'll send it to them. And I'll just write about, you know, my plan and how it went in Russia and how she's doing and how she's doing in school and what we're doing as a family. And it was published. I submitted it and they accepted it. And as those of you who write know, that is a thrill. And it felt so good that somebody liked my story or that it was meaningful to them. And that actually was the resurrection of my starting to write again.
Awesome.
That's me.
And you touched on it a bit, but I'm guessing that's what became your inspiration for your essay.
My inspiration for my essay was quite simply my daughter and the journey that we embarked upon together. Myself as an older single mom, a single woman that really had never parented a child, right? And my daughter as a young toddler who was taken out of surroundings that were familiar to her, basically swept away halfway across the world by a virtual stranger. So being able to put the words on paper that describe the feelings that basically I had that ran the gamut, you know, from the years of parenting her, was a comforting and a healing release for me. It also gave me the opportunity to recall joy that I experienced with her and loving moments of loving connection and fun times like like I mentioned, dancing in elevators when nobody else was in the elevator. Um, so it helped for me to remember those times, and as well as when adolescence emerged, and I had a lot of worries and fears and um, uh, difficulties and guilt in dealing with some of her behaviors. But the other thing that inspired me really was thinking that, there are other moms out there that are probably going through some very similar kinds of things, especially moms who had adopted from children that had been in institutions or orphanages. Some of the behaviors are really quite similar. So my hope was that it would be a comfort for them, that they could see they're not bad people, they're not bad moms for having maybe negative feelings sometimes for their kids, and that most of all, they would see that, what, they're not alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was it like to participate in this project with Kaleidoscope WoJo?
This was really an honor. So I will bet you that I was not the easiest author that you dealt with. So what I really greatly appreciated was, first of all, I had lots of questions, and when I emailed you, I received really responses that were quick. I made mistakes, as you know. You were flexible. You helped me. So I greatly appreciate it. It really has been a wonderful experience.
Excellent.
I thank you.
So what else would you like to share with the group?
Let me think for a minute.
Or maybe tell us about your next project.
Well, there are two things that that I'm thinking of that I want to do. I guess let me back up if I can for a minute. I guess the other thing I want to share with the group is if I would love if you like my story, but I have to say that this book, there are amazing stories in here by authors that have written about incredible times in their lives, challenging times in their lives. I have not read the entire book yet, but I have not been able to put it down. And there are heartfelt stories, there are humorous stories. So I just wanted to really let you know that there really are some great stories. And as far as what else that I'm thinking about, there are two things really. One is that I would like to, and I need to get back to having a structured time to write again. I was doing that for quite some time. I had Tuesdays off, so that was usually my day. I could sit down here at the kitchen table, and even if I wrote a paragraph of something, it felt good. And I haven't been doing that, so I really need to get back to setting up some kind of a structured schedule. The other thing that I want to do, and this has been going on for years actually, my mother passed away 10 years ago. And when she died, I realized that I really didn't know her. I knew her as a mom, but I didn't know her as a woman. And I had questions. I had questions about her childhood. I had questions about her history, about college for her, I had all these questions. And it was like an empty space. And I thought then, I don't want my daughter to be in that position. So I had an idea of a book, a memoir book that I wanted to write, consisting of letters to my daughter. And what I was doing was writing about certain incidents or situations in her life and kind of interspersing it with my life and my history. And interestingly enough, what I found was there were some similarities about some things, which kind of amazed me. So I had written about 8, 9 letters, and I just haven't gotten back to it. So that is something I'd really like to do that. I'd really like to complete it. And maybe you'll want to read it, Marianne.
I was going to say, yeah, it sounds interesting. Absolutely. Okay. So we already talked about what's next. All right. So the next part is fun for everybody on the phone. So now we get to unmute and we get to do a shout out to Bari and congratulate her or say whatever we'd like to say. And we'll start out by saying congratulations, Bari, and thank you for sharing your story with us and joining us on this journey.
Thank you.
Well, I'll go first if no one's going to go. You know me, Bari. I'll just jump right in. So I have to say, as much as I've known about your writing, you know, and work and all, we talk about it a lot. I don't know that I knew all of the beginnings, and so that's fascinating. And what really strikes me on a heart level is how you've combined your love of writing and your service as a therapist. Like, I don't think I really got how you're writing this was serving other people, and even you're writing your letters to your daughter, it just like chokes me up. And I'm like, oh, that you found this gift of having these together, and that you can offer that to the world and to do it for yourself because you know you need to write because you are a writer.
Thank you, Karen.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Touch my heart. Thank you.
Congratulations, Bari. Can't wait to read the whole book.
Oh, good.
So what else have you written about? And also, did you save the writings from junior high?
Yeah, I did. I did. Boy, when you go back and you read all that angst you wrote about, it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well, was it always about personal experiences?
I think, yeah, you know, pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's my thing. You know, people have said, you know, like Denise, I know you've written fiction, you know, why don't you write fiction? I don't know. There's something about the memoir and the personal essays. But to answer your question, I have written other things. It's not all about my daughter. You know, I've written about, you know, having had breast cancer. I've written a whole essay about that. I've written about a relationship with my sister that was published online, biostories.com. I've written about trying to think relationship issues. I wrote a story about getting married in late midlife, you know. So yeah, so other things too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Bari. Nobody deserves it more than you. I love your stories. I love how you write. And I thank you for encouraging me to write too. But I think this is wonderful. It's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, as one of the other people in this amazing book that Marianne and company have put together, hats off to you, Bari. Your story was stunning. It kind of took my breath away when I read it. And the candor with which you write and reaching into yourself emotionally reaches others. And it's great to hear that you have a project of letters. And I think your 2 projects, you have a project of letters and you have time to write. So It'll be exciting to watch you put those things together and keep going.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you being here, by the way.
Well, very happy
I
that
love your story too.
we support each other. That's how it
That's
works.
right. Thank you. Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to say anything?
Am I the last one?
You are.
Okay. Well, congratulations. I thought that your story was wonderful. I thought you did such a nice job of conveying all the feelings that you felt, especially the positive ones. I found myself really chuckling about the elevator scenes because I could imagine you doing that. But I also, what I thought was really remarkable was that so much of your story resonated with me, and I'm not a single mom, and I didn't adopt a child, but I think that any mom can relate to having challenging times with their kids. And I can certainly say I've experienced that, and I felt like I really identified with it. So I think that it really can reach more than just the audience of mothers who have adopted children. I think it can really, anybody as a mom can relate to it. So I thought it was wonderful.
That's great to hear, Susan.
Yeah, I loved reading it.
Yeah, thank you. And I know you were there for some of the time, so.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really love is how your honesty comes through in your stories, Bari. You're so honest and open about it, and it just resonates with me. I love it.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. It's really nice to hear.
Yay, Bari.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm so glad you came.
We're glad to be here. You made it. And
Yeah.
you're making it through this as nervous as you are.
So we're gonna wrap it up now. So in addition to Bari's stories, there are 41 other true personal essays that are included in the anthology In My Shoes. And then there's just a couple reviews we wanted to share with you. In My Shoes is a rich collection of short stories that wears its heart on its sleeve. It's easy to read at a quick pace, and readers will relate to specific narratives depending on their life experiences. There's something for everyone here. My next book club pick, you will be inspired by these stories and the sheer grit of the women. I enjoyed reading In My Shoes. It's a remarkable anthology of very personal, poignant, and in some cases quite universal experiences. The overarching message I take from the assortment of events is we should never feel alone with concerns or confusions over life's events. Take heart that this compilation of adventures, ordeals, and incidences will guide and heal, as well as quite often amuse. So for those of you that aren't following us, you can go to our website and sign up for notifications. There are lots of writing opportunities. So several of you said you were writers. We have a contest going on right now. We also have some other submissions for why you write, how do you solve writer's block, and some other miscellaneous memoirs and some other prompts. We also feature people's submissions. So when they submit, we feature them in the form of contest winners. We feature them. We have what's called a cup of WoJo, which is Saturday morning story that we feature. So you can have that with your cup of tea or coffee. And then we feature writers through interviews and other mechanisms. So like I said, I think several of you were writers, so you might want to check that out and sign up for notifications and look at what you could submit for. You can also like and follow us on our various social media platforms. Just want to take a second to thank some people. We want to thank all the writers that submit their stories to us and trusting us with their stories. We want to thank Bari for sharing her talent with us. We want to thank Ryan Chester, graphic designer for all images Kaleidoscope and for design and support of our website. And thank Jesse Terry, internationally known singer-songwriter and good friend, for the use of his song, Kaleidoscope. And now we're going to do Bari's official signing.
Oh, great.
So thank you all for joining us. If you want to get your copy of In My Shoes, you can go to our website, which was the kaleidoscopewojo.com, and you can click on buy our story, or you can go to bookbaby.com and look for In My Shoes. We want to thank everybody for joining us. This was a great group, so we appreciate it. And have a great evening.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. It
Congratulations
was
again,
wonderful.
Congratulations,
Thank
Bari.
you.
You have to
Bye.
sign, Barry.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.